Oryx Quest is a high-speed endurance race around the world. The fleet, a group of the fastest racing machines ever assembled. The plan, to lap the planet in 60 days and claim sailing's ultimate cash prize, $1 million. But the Oryx Quest has been a battle of attrition, with only 2 of the 4 starters still racing after 45 days. The fleet has sailed through the southern Pacific. Ahead lies the freezing ice-strewn waters of the southern Atlantic, before a turn north and back into the Indian Ocean, heading for the Arabian Gulf and the finish in Doha, Qatar.
On day 37, the British boat Daedalus rounded Cape Horn, the gateway from the Pacific to the Atlantic Ocean. Once again, Daedalus was back in the same ocean as the race leader, the Qatari boat Doha 2006. But Doha were up to full speed and flying across the South Atlantic, around 3,600 miles in front. Just over a week previously, Doha's leading margin had been much more fragile. The American boat Cheyenne was closing the gap as the two raced up the South American coast from Cape Horn to the Lobos Island turning mark in the mouth of the River Plate. But the chase was cut short the moment that Cheyenne's mast fell over the side. The American race was over, leaving just 2 boats pursuing the $1 million prize.
The boats are now beginning to sail a little bit more cautiously. Daedalus have had some bad luck with the weather, causing them to be rather slower than we'd hoped for, while Doha seem to have had a very good weather hand and have been quite lucky with the weather. This could all change now. The weather isn't really predictable, especially in the Southern Ocean, and Doha's getting a little bit less good luck with the weather than they had. And they're going to have to sail conservatively because there's an awful long way to go, and if they hit something or break something, it could ruin their chances of the cash prize.
On day 38, Doha 2006 was racing towards the tip of Africa, as Daedalus passed the tip of South America. The two were practically an ocean apart.
For the crew of Daedalus, that turn north into the Atlantic was a welcome relief after 3 weeks in the Southern Ocean and a dip down to 60 degrees south, just a few days before their rounding the Horn.
Once we got round the corner and we started to go north, obviously it gradually got warmer. And although the guys have still got their oilies on because it's still a little bit cold here, but it is incredibly nice. The boat's dried out a bit, and I think it's going to get even warmer as we get to Lobos.
Daedalus was heading north to Lobos Island, a turning point designed to route the boat safely away from an ice-packed area in the middle of the southern Atlantic.
Since their own rounding of Lobos Island, Doha had enjoyed several days of warmer weather. Life was suddenly much more tolerable.
The sun is shining. It's a gorgeous day. Not a cloud in the sky, not a squall to worry about, and it's a blessing. Stripped off all the layers down to one, and for the first time seen the feet and the hands and given them a bit of an airing.
Put your half down, mate. Oh, he's probably up there going, oh, too like this, mate.
Unfortunately, having just done all the routing solutions, it does look as if the shortest, quickest route at the moment takes us back down to about 48, which is close to the convergence zone, close to the icebergs and in the cold again. And not quite sure how I'm going to break the news to the crew, particularly on a nice sunny day like today.
Doha headed across the South Atlantic. Every mile was one step closer to the biting cold of the Southern Ocean once again.
It was bitter, but the strongest winds are found further south, and there's an even bigger incentive to go closer to the ice.
Up ahead, south of Africa, there's a big light spot, and we're having to decide what way to go. You know, we can't really just pile into the light spot, we've got to go south, but not far enough south to hit the icebergs.
Meanwhile, as Daedalus slid up the coast of Argentina, they were unable to avoid variable and difficult winds that continued to hold them up as they passed the point where Cheyenne had crashed out of the Oryx quest a week earlier. In port in Argentina, Cheyenne's crew got together for one last meal before the team disbanded and headed for their homes around the world. After 5 weeks on offshore rations, steak was like manna from heaven.
Wow. I've been dreaming about this for such a long time. Dreaming all the time about the steak.
I think it's a long-deserved little treat. You know, we've been living on freeze-dried for the past sort of 35 days, and we've been dreaming about this ever since the Mars went. So I think we came to the right place in Argentina for a good steak, and the smiles on the guys' faces here show that we're enjoying ourselves.
Sadly for them, their Oryx quest adventure and their hopes of winning $1 million had come to an end.
I'm actually looking at the weather conditions. A lot of people don't know it, but you get these pamperos coming off of the Argentinian coast. You get like cigar-like shaped clouds, which is a kind of telltale that a pampero is on its way. In 10 minutes you can have 40 knots of breeze running over the deck, and it can hold on to you for 12, 18, 24 hours. And all the guys, anyway, looking for those very unusual cigar-shaped clouds, and if we get one, I can assure you we can't smoke them. What we can do is think the pampero might be on its way.
The oldest sailor on the Oryx quest, Tony Bullymore, is a veteran skipper and renowned the world over, not least for his bulldog spirit.
He's like a Jack Russell. When he says he's going to do something, he does it. And he does not let go of it until it's done, finished, done and dusted. The resolve and the willpower of the man is extraordinary.
My father taught me when I was very young, if you start something, finish it. And that was groomed into me, that was really groomed into me. Whatever you start, finish.
Tony Bullymore's career has been a cycle of highs and lows. Amongst his successes, winning the Round Britain race.
Just some of the stuff he's done is incredible, and his experience I think is going to be invaluable to everyone. And I mean, you've seen him running around, he's not like a typical sort of mid-60s.
But he's better known for being touched by misfortune. Fire on a transatlantic crossing, a tragic loss of a crewman at sea, and then, very nearly, the end of his own life in the depths of the Southern Ocean.
If you really want to win races, and you really want to get out there and go for it, that you've got to push all the time. It's not a 9-to-5 job.
He's committed, and for Bullymore, it's all-consuming.
You see how hard he works, and what on a team like ours, it'd be 5 or 6 people doing it. There's Tony in his office, which is basically the kitchen and stuff, just putting this whole thing together.
Any team needs experience and energy and youth. Tony's got heaps of experience, and if I'm doing what he's doing his age, then I'll be extremely proud of myself.
He puts people younger than me now to shame, and here he is talking, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and he's pulled it off, he's here, so you can't bag that.
So he's a very young veteran, if that's the word I can use.
That's right.
On the 15th of March, Doha 2006 crossed the Greenwich Meridian, back in the Eastern Hemisphere. But they were being forced a long way south from the Cape of Good Hope by a high-pressure system.
We've got some slow stuff coming up. We've got high pressure coming down from Africa, which is going down all the way to the area of ice. So we've got to decide what to do. We don't really want to go in high pressure. We don't really want to go in the ice. So we're going to have to thread it just north of the ice and just far enough south to keep some winds. It's not really in our interest to go dodging icebergs at this stage.
The warm latitude became a fond memory once more. On Doha 2006, they were cold and wet yet again as the routine of life on board continued.
Good morning and welcome to Life on Board Doha 2006 Maxi Cat. Up to where I find my partner in crimes. Standell bar getting ready.
Here we go, let's go, the dash across the net. Everyone's got to do it every morning to get to the food on the other side.
Orange with chocolate.
Yeah.
There we are into our watch. Thought I'd just come down and say good day. What's we can see land up there?
Land? Oh, that's not supposed to be there.
Just into my standby watch, but there's not a lot going on up on deck. Standby time can also be used just to do your own personal emails, to sort out your own personal kit, sit around, have a chat.
Yeah, I've just come off watch and we've got the Fleet 33 up and running now. We've got coverage, so we're able to email. Perfect.
So 1 GMT, all looks good on deck for our standby watch. We know where we are with the nav and we'll spend the next couple of hours down there in the medical kit getting some extra kit before we come on watch at 4 o'clock, 1600. Okay, here at 2:38 in the afternoon, just been woken up for to do a change to the staysail from the Yankee, and it just went all quiet in here as we went hull flying, so we better get up on deck and do it. So there you go, from being asleep to a big head sail change in about 5 minutes. Your weight gets there. All done. Head sail's changed. Yankees put down. Righto, here we are. We're coming 15 minutes to the end of our watch, and it's time for the rest of the mob to get up. Corinne's coming up. She's all psyched up about getting on watch. Well, maybe not.
Yeah.
You know what they say about admirals and the other mob in hatches. All right, let's go and wake the other crew up. Sharon. Show us your little peepers in there.
Ah, fantastic.
It's about 10 o'clock in the morning. The sun's coming up. Beautiful colours all over the sky here. Really beautiful part of the world down here. Fantastic.
As Doha passed the Cape of Good Hope, the high-pressure system continued to block their way north. They were faced with the tactical option of trying to outrun the system and sail around it to the east. Having sailed 3/4 of the way around the world, survived the treacherous Southern Ocean and built a lead of more than 3,500 miles, with around 5,000 left to sail, the crew of Doha could have been forgiven for thinking the race was won. Wrong. Their return to the Indian Ocean signalled yet another threatening hurdle in their unrelenting battle with the elements. In 6 weeks at sea, the crews on board the Oryx Quest fleet had contested and bested some of the toughest sailing conditions on the planet. But with 5,000 of the 23,000 miles left to sail, the leader could be less than 10 days from the $1 million prize. But in round-the-world sailing, the weather is always an unpredictable factor that can drive navigators to despair. In front of Doha 2006, the high-pressure system they were watching so closely and trying to sail around moved east and closed them off.
So it's a bit like trying to get off the motorway, and you've got a big lorry there on the inside lane, and you're wondering whether you can overtake it before the off-ramp. And at the moment, it's looking like that lorry's going too fast, and we're going to miss our turn-up. So the other option's to pull in behind it and leave it on our right-hand side. So sometimes the wind's like that, and you can't go directly from A to B. We're going via C, D, and E.
Doha are faced with a problem at the moment. They've got the high pressure between them and the finish line. Now they've got 3 options. They either go to the west of the high pressure, in which case they're beating hard into the trade winds, similar conditions where Geronimo had problems earlier in the race. They can try and go through the centre of the high pressure, but that's likely to give them very, very light winds, and they could park up for days. Or they can keep going to the east and try and pass to the east of the high pressure. This would give them much more favourable winds, but because the high pressure is also moving east, it could mean adding many hundreds of miles to their route. If they do get to the east of the high, however, it will give them favourable conditions for the South Indian Ocean.
The crew on board Doha 2006 are seemingly equal to anything that's thrown at them. Before they even started, they were known as the Dream Team, and not surprisingly, because on board are some of the top names in the sport. Watch captain Jacques Vincent is a round-the-world veteran. At just 43 years old, he's been around the world an impressive 8 times, a record only beaten by Olivier de Courcesson. Fellow Frenchman and watch captain Thomas Coville was plucked from obscurity by Olivier de Courcesson. He now has his own racing programme and is taking time out to sail Doha. Third watch captain Damien Foxall was on Cheyenne when they broke the round-the-world record. He regularly competes with Corinne Fauconnier on her 60-foot trimaran Sergio Tacchini. And Corinne is arguably one of the best female multi-hull sailors in the business. Sharon Ferris is a key sailor with all-round ability, both as a sailor and a sailmaker. As an Olympic dinghy helm, she's a top driver, as she proved on Maiden 2. Then there's Brian Thompson, the co-skipper on Maiden 2. He was Steve Fawcett's right-hand man on Cheyenne. He's highly experienced, but most importantly, he's respected by his crew.
Brian's consistent. You know, he's always good, and you know where you stand. And he's always there. You wonder when he sleeps, but he does, because he's just working like clockwork, and he feels the boat, and he feels the crew, and he picks people up when they need to be picked up.
He's already demonstrated one very important aspect of being a skipper, and that he can gather a top-notch crew around him, and people will come.
You've got to have a really good team on board who can fix anything, as well as a good navigation team helping you to route through the obstacles in the way. Then really good drivers to keep the boat moving all the way, and good trimmers sheeting on the sails.
So where does the skipper fit into it all?
My job's really to worry, and the better the team, the less I have to worry. If everything's running perfectly, I won't have anything to do. So that's the ideal, to sit back and read a book the rest of the way.
This team are truly in a league of their own. They were plucked from all 4 corners of the globe, irrespective of age, nationality and gender.
I think we have really good sailors on board, and you don't have to care if it's a woman or an Australian guy or a Swedish or French. I mean, we're all here because of one reason, is that Brian thinks we're good.
On Saturday the 19th of March, Daedalus finally rounded Lobos Island. They turned the waypoint in very light winds, making slow creeping progress.
Come here. I want to show you something that making it quite difficult to be here. That is Lobos Island, which we've just gone round, which is a mark of the course. And if I pan round over there, sorry. That there in focus is to the left. And that's how far we are from civilization after 6 weeks. And are we stopping there? Oh no.
After Lobos Island, Daedalus hooked into good westerly winds, but once again they found themselves an ocean away from the Qatari boat.
Doha 2006 is sponsored by the Organisation Committee of the Asian Games, which come to Qatar in 2006. And back in the city of Doha, the boat's supporters were showing appreciation for their prize racing machine.
I would like to congratulate on a fantastic performance so far.
Oh, thank you very much, Abdullah. We're very happy to be first to Australia, first to the Amazon line, first to Cape Horn. So we hope to carry on and be first back into Doha.
Well, God bless you and your great crew. How is Doha 2000 bearing up to all the pressures?
Well, the boat is holding together fantastically. We've only had very superficial problems with some of the equipment, but not anything that stops the thing, which is good.
I would like to take this opportunity to let you know that everyone here in Qatar is very much behind you and send you their best wishes. Disconnected.
But no amount of support from the land was able to help the Qatari boat in their struggle with the high pressure. And it looked as if their roll of the weather dice was about to bring them something much, much worse.
It's a large high pressure system we're trying to get around. We made a decision to go around to the east of it, which will give us following winds rather than headwinds. The other major problem that we have, and probably the primary reason why we're going east and the long way home as it were, even though it's about an extra 1,500 miles, is because there's been a tropical cyclone alert issued to the vicinity of Mauritius. So we're talking hurricane The last major hurricane there this year had 150 knots, so we have to treat this very seriously.
Over the last few days, a little storm has been brewing, and it's just been upgraded to a full tropical cyclone, and it's been given a name, and they're calling it Henny. It's deepening at the moment, and it's moving south. And this is something that Brian will be watching like a hawk on Doha, because this could come down and close to their track. They're fairly unpredictable in their courses. They start off by heading to the west, to the southwest, and then as they get older and further out of the tropics, they tend to head more south, and they do sometimes reflect and go around to the southeast. So we don't know where this is going. It's something that could be very important to Doha. It would be potentially damaging to the boat if they were caught with this cyclone. So every time it gets updated, they will be watching it like a hawk.
Meanwhile, behind Doha, Daedalus were chewing up the miles on a charge across the southern Atlantic.
At the moment I'm doing 23.5 knots, 24 knots, and we're going quite well. If we can hold this wind for the next 2 or 3 days, it'll be fantastic. It will really kick us in the right direction. The quicker we can get down to the southern tip of Africa, get around the Cape of Good Hope, the quicker we can get into the Indian Ocean. That's the last one home. We're on the way.
Daedalus, once 4,000 miles behind Doha, closed the gap to nearly 3,000 in just a few days. And with potential cyclone issues shaping up to cause Doha further problems, Brian Thompson was considering difficult times ahead.
Even now we're making really no progress towards the finish line, and he's last I saw he was doing 25 knots down the track, so that's 500-600 miles in one day he could catch us up. So he'll definitely be catching us, and maybe when he comes round, this cyclone will be gone, and he'll have a clear shot from Cape Town to Oryx, and he's going to get a lot closer.
The Oryx quest is entering the final phase, the final fifth of the 23,000-mile race around the planet. As the leader Doha 2006 heads back into the Indian Ocean, the boat's crew again face a risk of collision with tsunami debris. The hold-ups they can stop a boat dead for days in the doldrums. But more immediately, the danger that is spinning up in the form of Cyclone Henny, which could tear the boat apart in winds of more than 70 knots, as they sail into the vicious sector. Seamanship will come first, but this is a race. And if Doha divert further to avoid the cyclone, they can open the door to Daedalus. The race for the Oryx quest and $1 million is still on.